Well, let's move on to the next thing.
There are 4 Triforce pieces! Skip it! Skip it!
Let's see where this goes, Axel. Tell me about this.
Why is he doing this? I know that title sounds rather contradictory. How can there be 4 Triforce pieces when the word tri meaning 3 is right in the name? According to some Zelda fans, it's because the 4th Triforce piece is missing from the middle of the structure, but that doesn't explain why it's not in the name. That black hole is the perfect size to house an additional piece, and there are some...
Axel. Now, in the original Zelda, there are only 2 Triforce pieces.
Yeah.
They're Triforce because they're triangles.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, this is something that I'm really interested in. Is it Triforce because there are in fact 3 pieces, and even though the first game only has the 2 pieces of Triforce, the Super Canon cartoon only has the 2 Triforce pieces?
It's so canon.
Yeah, so now is it Triforce because there are the 3 main pieces, or is it a Triforce because of the overall shape of a Triforce, like the giant triangle that they all 3 form, or is it a Triforce for each of the individual shapes? Or Triforce?
It was likely just started from triangle, but the thing is that they have retroactively changed that there are 3 Triforces. Every source states there are 3 Triforces. Saying that, you could throw in a 4th piece is actually technically true, and in fact, with the weird upside-down Triforce stuff that we keep saying now, there's even more support of it. But
Termina,
the thing is
low roll.
But the thing is no game has ever said, that's the case. They've said quite the opposite, that there are 3. So it's the kind of thing where you're just making... Yeah.
And he said no.
Hold on, guys. Calling up Miyamoto.
All right. So I know a lot of people like this. Holly, who I watches this podcast a lot, she also said she kind of likes this theory.
Hi, Miyamoto.
The only
Jesse
thing that this theory is based on, though, is that in one game, not even all of them, there's the Hylian shield has
you're watching right
upside
now.
down
Awesome.
triangle
Yeah,
on it.
we're discussing,
and that's it.
The Triforce. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it's called Triforce because tri means 3 and there are 3 of them? All right, thank you.
All right.
There you
go.
Theory confirmed, guys. Triforce is called the Triforce because there are 3 pieces.
It just comes as the kind of thing that would be like they could at any time decide that this is a thing, but the thing is it's a made-up detail and there's nothing that supports in the games. There's no support for it. It's just a cool idea. And granted, it is a cool idea, especially when you think of like Demise, the anti-Triforce kind of thing. Like maybe there was a fallen, like maybe Demise was the fourth god who blah 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 was with the goddesses and he was rejected, so he was blah blah blah. You could think of it's a lot of cool ideas. But
my thought, if like whenever I think of the 4th Triforce, I think of Termina and the goddess of time. That's the only thing that I could reasonably come to, but then that's not even the high roll Triforce.
Hi, Axel. So, next piece of news, because we're running out of time here as well.
Yes, take the next theory. Theory debunked.
Theory, it's debunked.
Debunked.
Termina, you're going to love this one, Jesse. Termina is, in fact,
purgatory. I guess that's why you make it such a gosh darn happy place by the time you're done with it.
Yeah, that's how purgatory works, right? You
All
go
3
help
of these
people
next
there, right?
theories are connected.
Yes. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is easily the darkest release in the franchise. We don't mean a lack of lighting.
Do they really say that?
It really does say it. We don't mean a lack of lighting. It actually says that in the article. But rather, its general theme and creepy imagery. This particular theory is part of a much larger group of ideas that all contain the centralized speculation that Link meets a terrible demise in Majora's Mask. Kind of spoilers for the other 2 pieces of this article. But I said, come on, guys. Termina isn't Hyrule. It's a land that exists in a completely different world. Quotation marks. There are many that accept that Termina is simply an alternate reality, but some die-hard theorists believe that this world is actually a test meant for the hero of time. Everything about the land of Termina seems a bit off.
Purgatory isn't a test.
No, that's not what
it's a punishment.
What? Why would Link be in Purgatory anyways? He's a hero.
So here's the thing to quickly disprove this and the two accompanying theories. Aonuma. Now there has been Miyamoto has given his thoughts. Aonuma's given his thoughts. The Hyrule Encyclopedia gives its own thoughts. But I go with Aonuma, the man who created the game. I don't necessarily go with Miyamoto, the Hyrule Encyclopedia, whatever, because there are one of the sources claim that Termina was created because whenever the Skull Kid put on Majora's Mask, Termina existed. The thing is, the game itself shows you cutscenes of the Skull Kid and the two fairies before they're even aware that Majora's Mask exists. They're doing cartwheels. Yeah, they're doing cartwheels. They're like Skull Kid's crying because he doesn't have friends inside the log that it's showing in the thumbnail for this theory. So it shows all this stuff that happens in Termina before Skull Kid gets Majora's Mask. So in Hyrule Encyclopedia, whoever the author was who wrote down Termina did not exist until Skull Kid put on Majora's Mask is full of shit.
Jesse.
Yes.
So,
which takes us to our next entry, because they're connected, really.
Oh, I want to end this with Majora's Mask 3D. There was an interview with Aonuma where he says Termina is a real physical location located next to Hyrule. That is the creator of the game. The man who created Majora's Mask says Termina is not a dream world. It is not whatever it is.
But I don't think that's not a reliable source, Jesse.
It's pretty definitive, Daniel.
It's not reliable.
Daniel.
It's not.
If it was Miyamoto, it wouldn't be very reliable, but
Yeah, that's true.
Miyamoto's the one who confirms theories just to get people to stop talking to him. He's like, yes, Mario's an actor, it's a stage play, go away.
I am Bowser Jr.'s... Yeah, Miyamoto said that he is Bowser Jr.'s mother, so not a reliable source.
Wait.
In the same interview where he said Super Mario Bros. 3 is a stage play, they said, who is Bowser Jr.'s mother? And he said...
Yeah.
It actually makes a lot of sense, though, if you think about it.
Miyamoto is Mario's mother. All right.
Bowser Jr.'s mother.
Axel, this is you're taking this one?
Your turn, Axel.
Is this me?
You can do it.
I don't care.
No, wait, did Axel...
I'll take the last one. Give me the last one.
Axel...
Are you sure?
Oh, we skipped me. That's what happened.
Oh, okay, Jesse, go ahead.
We went Daniel to Axel. So this is my personal favorite you're a dumbass theory, if you believe this. I never say bad words on my videos, so this lets you know how I really feel about these theories.
Did you say a bad word, Jesse?
Yeah, I said you're a dumbass.
Oh, Jesse, you said it again!
And then earlier I said the people that believe Termina isn't real are full of shit. Because the man who created the game...
We're 5 now.
Oh, Jesse, you're banned.
Alright, so Majora's Mask...
You're banned.
Demonetized. Yeah, the video's now demonetized. Nintendo's can't say bad words in our videos. Majora's Mask, the 5 stages of grief. Before we get to this, I want to start out. Aonuma, before we even get to the theory, Aonuma, the creator of the game, said, if you play the game with the 5 stages of grief in your mind, although it is interesting, you are playing the game wrong. The man who created the game says you are playing it wrong if you believe this theory. Because he attributes that although you can put a distinct emotion to each of the general areas, all of the areas accompany so much more than one emotion.
Yeah. And the thing is it actually does a disservice to what the theming of the game is. The game is fundamentally about friendship and helping people and helping each other through a terrible time. basically what the game's thematically about.
The theory suggests, the penultimate theory on this list says, there is a rather peculiar structure to the storyline for Majora's Mask, and although it may be completely coincidental, it provides us with plenty of fuel for this creepy theory. It's a common thought among theorists that the zones within Termina are actually based off of the Kubler-Ross model. For anyone unfamiliar...
When you said the zones, Jesse, I just thought of Sonic. I'm just imagining Sonic running through, like, Southern Swamp Zone.
Yeah.
Or I guess they call it something, Poison Swamp Zone. That's just Sonic running through there.
Evil Valley Zone Act 2.
Exactly. I want to see that game.
That'd be pretty cool.
For anyone unfamiliar, this model was developed to explain how individuals generally deal with grief. The proposed model features 5 unique stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. There are the types of emotions that one would generally feel after the devastating loss of a loved one or some other type of cataclysmic event. What's curious is that the zones within Termina actually mimic these stages, and the order in which you experience them in Majora's Mask is critical. During his adventures, Link will cross paths with many folk in denial, an angry king, a Goron who cannot accept his fate, a depressed mother, and a zone-filled utter acceptance. A zone-filled utter okay. Each of these locations showcases one of the 5 stages of grief and leads us to the next morbid possibility on our list. So the thing about this is, again, the owner of the game says although you can put any single emotion to any of these areas, all of the areas are designed to invoke all different sorts of emotions, not just one for each area. And he says, like, the people in, like, the theory uses the Goron for, like, not wanting to accept his death or whatever.
Yeah, I always thought that was the weirdest one.
Everyone doesn't accept that they're going to be dying. Like, if you look at the acceptance thing, like, the whole cutscene with the mayor and everyone arguing is them not accepting that the moon's going to fall.
Yeah.
Like, the whole thing. And then, like, that has anger, that has the acceptance, that has, like, all of the areas have all of the different emotions. It's just the people that believe this theory choose not to see the other emotions.
I mean, some might be a little stronger, but I always thought the bargaining part, which is what's attributed to the Gorons, makes no sense. Like, the others, like, okay, I kind of see, but that one...
There's another issue with this thing, is that if at the end of the game, if we're following the Kubler-Ross model, at the end of the game, we get acceptance, right?
Yeah.
The problem is that Link, the same Link who is in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, is the hero's shade, which means he had regret. That's why he's a spirit in Twilight Princess. He had regret for not being able to pass on his knowledge and not being remembered as a hero. If he
didn't accept anything.
Acceptance, if he had overcome that at the end of Majora's Mask, there would be no hero's shade in Twilight Princess.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Daniel.
All right. So the game itself, the games that come after it, and the creator of the game all debunk this
Jesse's getting so intense. He's like shaking his microphone.
That means that it's not a theory, guys.
Right,
That's pretty fake.
WrestleMania was a disappointment last night. So
let's just accept it.
I didn't know.
5 stages.
Come on,
5
everybody.
stages.
We're
Blue
sponsored
Yeti
by
Pros,
Blue.
everybody.
We're all sponsored by Blue here. Miss
Blue?
Click, pull out your Yeti. No, okay. So the thing is, the game itself, the games that come after it, the creators of the game all debunk this theory.
Yeah.
If the man who created the game says no, this isn't. If you believe this theory, you are playing the game wrong. When the man who creates the game tells you you are playing the game wrong, that debunks it.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. He's not just saying, oh, that's interesting, but it's not true. No, he says you are playing it wrong.
You're missing the point, guys.
Yeah, it's like if you're driving a car with your head next to the gas pedal and your knee is steering the car while you're upside down. You're driving the car wrong. So the people, like, it's the same thing. You're playing this game wrong. Axel, take us to our favorite.
Oh, is that the word for it? Number 1, in all our hearts and in all our rage, Link is dead in Majora's Mask. This is perhaps the most prominent of all Legend of Zelda theories.
I'm actually going to Google this to see if I can find the quote from.
And has been the basis of discussion on countless forum threads and fan sites. It has even inspired popular YouTuber MatPat to enshrine it in one of his game theory videos.
Who says the horrible person who popularized the theory says he doesn't even believe it.
Yeah, that's true. He like outright says it's just a theory. He always stands by that. Not all of his theories are true.
It's just a theory. A game theory.
But the thing is, like, anytime you say anything bad about MatPat, even if it's not even actually something bad about him, just that you don't agree with one of his theories, the theorist community,
dream.
They will murder you.
Here's the thing: when he came out with that video, I watch game theory periodically. I think he has interesting points, but I think he also has some very badly put together theory. But I think even he knows that. Like, I feel like it's like you said, he acknowledges this is just a theory, and he's not doing the kind of theory like this is a serious thing I'm considering for the game per se. He's including theories he doesn't even agree with. The Link is dead theory, even before, I think there was confirmation recently. I think Jesse's looking for it, that it is not true. But even before that, it's like impossible to support. There's so many things wrong with it. So I remember when I had first disappeared, I'd poked my head in a few times, and people were always and every time I did, kind of near the beginning of my disappearance, people were like, "Are you going to talk about game theory's video?" I'm like, "Oh yes, we'll be talking about that."
All right. So the one interview that I found, it's Aonuma Miyamoto sitting on a couch with Zach Scott Games, the YouTube person, who asked them straight up, "Is Link dead in Majora's Mask?" Miyamoto just kind of twiddles at his thumbs with like a weird look on his face, and Aonuma answers it and says, like, he talks about it for like a minute, but he ends it with, "It's interesting that people think that," is what he ends it with.
That's a no. That's a hard no.
That's a pretty good no.
Yeah, so Miyamoto is just like, it looks like Miyamoto literally puts his hand down like, what?
Like, did this guy really ask me this?
And then Aonuma's like, it's interesting. Like, I don't think he wanted to say no, like, to like tell fans like, "No, you're stupid for thinking this." He's trying to think of the nicest way to say, "No, it's not true." So he's like,
which is funny because in the other case he just says, "You're playing the game wrong."
Well, that's what he said from the previous.
I know.
For the 5 stages of grief thing, yeah. Ugh. Sorry, friends. It's just not that's also okay. And again, the hero's shade. Okay, if he died in Majora's Mask, why is the hero's shade an adult?
Yeah, there's just so many problems with it.
Where'd he get that armor from?
Okay,
Where
so
did he lose his eyeball?
This is another theory. This is from a Game Informer interview. This is the interview that I was quoting earlier. So, Game Informer says...
Wait, is this the pre-Breath of the Wild interview they did?
This is about Majora's Mask. I don't
okay.
But,
go on.
This is just like a small snippet from Zelda Dungeon. But it says, Game Informer asks, "Some fans speculate that Majora's Mask is a metaphor for the stages of grief. The townsfolk are in denial of the moon falling, blah, blah, blah." We just covered all this. Aonuma says, "It's certainly true that each one of these different episodes you talked about has different emotional cast to it. One feels like it's tinged with sadness, another with anger. That certainly was intentional, but I also want to point out that it's not that each one of these episodes only has the one emotion that they are conveying. There are certainly other notes that we were trying to hit as well. And the reason we did this is always to allow the player to experience that emotion, to give them a chance to hook into the emotional tone of this scene and react to it and feel the way they want, and to accomplish something in the game as a result."
Yeah.
So right there he says that while they did put each of these emotions to the different areas, they also put other emotions in the areas as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just each area is based off one emotion, it's that all the areas accompany a lot of different emotions.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, it's not you're not working through anger with the Deku. The game intentionally pisses you off by showing you how unreasonable the Deku are actually being, and then gives you a little like, oh, thank God, when you see his daughter bouncing on him and trying to punish him.
Yeah, okay.
It's not. It doesn't end on anger.
Why is Link not dead in Majora's Mask, Daniel?
Because
he's an adult in Twilight Princess.
He's an adult. Yes, there's that.
His skeleton is an adult.
Yes.
When you play Twilight Princess, it's not a little child skeleton teaching you all these moves.
No, that would be terrifying.
It is an adult skeleton. He doesn't die in Termina because his grave is in the castle.
Yep.
His body, and then
there's more attached to this theory too.
He doesn't have a grandson. Like, child Link at 8 years old, 9 years old, cannot have a great-great-great-grandson. If you... Being real for a second, I am very lucky to have close to 60,000 subscribers on YouTube. If you believe in the slightest that Link is dead in Majora's Mask, you are stupid. Please unsubscribe.
Ooh.
Come over to my channel instead. I think you're stupid too, but I accept you for who you are.
No, I understand. It is an interesting thought.
No, yeah, it's cool.
Sure, it's good for like 5 minutes.
But flying is also an interesting thought. I know I can't do it. I know that no one can really fly, but people, Link in Twilight Princess is confirmed to be the great-great-whatever grandson of Link from Ocarina of Time. Child Link, who dies in Majora's Mask, if he cannot have a great-great-great-whatever grandson if he is still a 8-year-old boy, who until the events of Ocarina of Time had never even seen someone of his own race. He was there with a bunch of wood kid children people that were like half.
I mean, maybe some crazy stuff happened after. He had all this hormone stuff going on, but he had to go defeat Ganon. But when he went back in time, he had a little free time on his hands. We don't know what happened.
You wouldn't know what to do.
Like,
you don't need to know what to do, Daniel.
That explains a lot.
No, as a joke, I was posting like troll stuff on Twitter the other day.
Yeah.
It was like, you guys seen it? It was like, fact number 54: Daniel's so hot his friends need a Goron tunic to hang out with him.
Ooh, yeah, true.
Axel is so ugly, Termina's moon looked away.
There was one of them you said where you tagged me. It's like Daniel legitimately believes that Link is dead in Majora's Mask.
No.
And then I put that GIF of Mindy from Mindy Kaling in The Office. She goes, I have a lot of questions. First of all, how dare you?
Yeah. No, so when I was doing all of my troll posts, I posted something on Twitter like, does anyone still actually believe that Link is dead? Because for the longest time I was like, people just think this because it's a fun troll, it's a meme. Like, no one really believes it. They just use it as a quick troll. An easy way to, like, troll someone. But then there were people that was replying that was like, oh, yeah, I believe that, blah, blah, blah. He's dead because this fact. And it's, like, I deleted the tweet and then unfollowed the people that replied to it. Because I was so disappointed. I was just like, what?
So the thing is that when you're theorizing, there's a few different kinds of theorizing. There's just, it's a cool idea, of which this absolutely qualifies, and you can support it with the in-game stuff, not so much later stuff, although even the hero shade, you could kind of explain it away. But as soon as you're coming up with a theory that requires so many like things that aren't in the game to support it, Like, you have to actually come up with ideas. You're not taking them from the material. You're coming up with them. You can't say you're in the camp of theorist where you're actually arguing that's the story in the game. You just can't say that. You can't justify that thought. You can say, oh, it's a cool idea. What if they did this? It's awesome, and that's a very cool kind of theorizing, too. And this is a very interesting one. It seemed like Miyamoto and Aonuma sort of agreed. They didn't want to slam this one too hard, but... yeah, you can't really justify it being the story of Majora's Mask.
The interview that I read where like Miyamoto just put his face down, because it wasn't an article I read, it was an actual video. Miyamoto like put his face down like he was disappointed, and then Aonuma was the one that actually answered it. And
I flew out.
That was just one. Like there was the second interview that we read that was from Majora's Mask. There was the interview which I was quoting, I didn't have it in front of me, but it was where Aonuma was basically like, hey, you're playing the game wrong, which I think was actually a different segment from that same interview.
Yeah,
right.
But yeah, it's just like all of these different things, and people's like, oh, Termina. And then another thing is like the same people that are saying like Link's dead in Majora's Mask are the same people to say that Termina isn't real. So it's like, if Termina's not real, how does Link die in Termina? Like, if Termina doesn't exist until he puts...
Well, that's actually what
he dies in the Lost Woods.
Yeah, that was what I was getting at. That's actually not the entire theory. The theory is Link goes to the Lost Woods, dies there, and becomes a Stalfos. That's why he's a skeleton in Twilight Princess, which I have several problems with that. One, there is no... And this I hate. This is actually one of the worst theories in the whole franchise for me. People assume that that's the Lost Woods at the beginning of Majora's Mask. Why? There is no indication of that whatsoever.
Trees, Axel.
There is no.
There's trees. The Lost Woods has trees.
Here's the thing. Termina. No, here. Link goes to Termina to look for Navi. Navi doesn't take off through the Lost Woods. Navi takes off behind the Spirit Temple.
Jesse.
So Navi takes off through the window of the Spirit Temple. So in my head, this forest
Temple of Time
is sorry. This forest is the trees and stuff that you see going directly behind the Spirit Temple. My thought is Navi runs off through the window and Link's like, oh shit, I gotta go catch this fairy, so he just runs outside the Temple of Time and then like takes off in the woods in the direction that Navi went. He doesn't go back to Kakiri Forest, go through the Lost Woods, and then do all that. He just goes through like the woods behind the Temple of Time.
Yeah, or checks any forest in Hyrule. Did we forget that the boundary lines for most of the game are trees? That's like the generic graphic they have to separate most areas.
Yeah, but trees? The Lost Woods has trees.
Daniel.
So here, five quick easy ways to know that Link is not dead in Majora's Mask. Number one, the creators of the game said he was not.
That's not reliable.
Number two, he did not die and become a skeleton in Majora's Mask because he is not a child skeleton in Twilight Princess. He is an adult skeleton, which means he lived to be the age of at least 20.
At least taller.
At least 3 feet taller. He was.
Yeah, the thing is, they say that he became a Stalfos, and Stalfos are big. I think you're missing the euphemism, guys.
Yeah.
Also,
Number
children.
Number
like
three.
The Stall child exists.
Number three. He had to live long enough to be an adult to have kids. And then his kids had to live long enough to have kids, and those kids needed... It keeps going until you get his great-great-something grandson.
Or Dawn Woods has trees.
Number 4. What's something else that I'm missing? The creators of the game said it wasn't true. Again.
That one again.
The person who popularized the theory didn't create it. He just stole credit from it and made like thousands of dollars from a video. Without crediting who he actually got it from. He doesn't believe it. In fact, he's been on interviews saying that he can post whatever theory he wants with little to no research, and people will believe it just because he has millions of subscribers. He literally said his subscribers will believe whatever he posts because they think if he has so many followers, it has to be true. Do you want to know who else had lots of followers? Hitler.
Whoa, Godwin's law in effect here.
It's true, guys. It's not only Godwin's law, it's pattern recognition.
Yeah. Look at I think the one actually has a huge discussion on his channel about the theory not being correct.
Yeah, he says that the original game manual that came with the N64 cartridge says it's in an uncharted section of the Lost Woods. So maybe it actually is the Lost Woods. But here's the thing: no one I have ever discussed this theory with.
Mario's
no
manual
one I've
says
ever
the
discussed this theory with has ever
people.
mentioned that. So that's not why they think it. So they're still wrong, even if they're right.
Okay.
It must have been like at some point we all read it while playing the original game.
Maybe.
And that's stuck, even though we forgot where we read it.
Yeah, but they still have the wrong reasons.
No, see,
they
the
do.
thing is,
they're just trying to remember why. They can't remember why they think it, so they just make something up.
I'm not salty because people believe... Like, I'm not salty or whatever because of the theory. I'm disappointed at how stupid some people can be. Like, you get disappointed with humanity because you're like... Is this person, like... If someone is a casual fan, they watch the video and they're like, "Oh, that makes sense."
Yeah,
but
I think that is what most of it is.
As quickly as you like start doing your own research, you're like, "Hey, how does he have a kid if he died as a kid?"
Yeah, but I just think a lot of those details don't stick in a lot of people's minds. I've talked to a lot of people who've played the games, and even you, Jesse, kind of brought this up when talking about like Phantom Hourglass. A lot of these people don't remember all the little details. That's something that we're a little obsessive about. So that's what I think happens.
But like the thing is, like it gets to the people that like they don't, even though they're only a casual fan or they may not be like all knowing about the series. Like anytime I have a question, I message Larulian because he's like an encyclopedia for Zelda. Like not just theories, just like the actual facts. Like you can be like, "Hey, what was the Japanese quote for this scene from this game?" And he's like, in 10 seconds he'll just send it to you, and it's like the direct translation from the Japanese text, which like localization sometimes text in games change, which is why a lot of people like seeing like Japanese anime as opposed to the dubbed versions. And it's the same thing. Like Aonuma says that he has like direct say in what gets put in the Japanese versions of the Zelda games, whereas it's the localization teams from all of the different places. That's why in Breath of the Wild, almost everything has a completely different name. Like all of the towns, villages, and stuff in Japanese, like a lot of them are different. They quote like different games or like reference different games depending on which version. Yeah. So
there's like the one memory where Zelda, the ceremony one, and you hear in the English, like North American version, they say Zelda mentions like hero time and the hero steeped in twilight or in the embers of twilight, something along those lines. But then in like the Japanese version, it actually references a different game, not Twilight Princess.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So like the English version references like Skyward Sword, Ocarina of Time, and Twilight Princess, where like the Japanese version references the Wind Waker instead.
Why?
And then like I think someone said the German version references Link to the Past.
Yeah,
they mentioned like a dark world or something like that, which could also be taken as
could be
like
Twilight
Realm or something.
The dark world.
Yeah,
the dark world.
So it's like it's all these like they have different levels of freedom depending on how lenient Nintendo is with them. But I think that was on purpose though. Like they want it to be vague. But anyways, what's not vague is Link is not dead and Majora's Mask. So
he is alive. Link is alive theory confirmed.
All right, so let's end it with 3 quick questions. We will each take 1 question.
Okay.
I'll
have to run in like a couple minutes.
Yeah, that's why I said 3 quick questions. So everybody in the chat, I'm going to do an intro. Get your questions in the chat so we can answer them. I did not check Patreon. I apologize. But we have Patreon supporters in the chat, so go ahead and post your questions. I see Ashley, a couple of other people from Patreon are in there. All right.